Welcome to an episode of Leaving the Pack. I'm so excited today to welcome Michael Sweetney to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining.
No, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here and I'm excited to get this rolling.
Yeah, I'm so excited to get into it today.
Yeah.
So we overlapped at Georgetown, and I'm afraid to say how many years ago that was now.
Okay.
We'll pretend it was just yesterday.
Yeah.
But you were playing basketball at the time that we were in college together, and then, of course, had a career in basketball and have now become a mental health advocate as well as a father. So I'm really excited to talk about all of that today. But the first question I ask all of our guests, and I can't wait to hear from you today, is when you hear the phrase leaving the pack, what is like the first thing that kind of comes to mind for you?
Hmm. I would honestly say kind of just leaving the group and kind of doing your own thing and doing your own journey, your own
Mhm.
path. And maybe I'm stretching too much, but I would kind of say that kind of just like, yeah, doing your own thing, like doing your own thing, living your own life, making your own decisions, and leading in your own way and not being
Mhm.
a follower.
So, what, if you would look back on your own kind of journey, where do you feel like you have left the pack?
That's a great question. I would probably say it probably started freshman year in college with me. When I first went to college, it's so funny people laugh at me when I tell the story. I went to one party my 3 years in school.
One
Um,
party?
I went to one party.
Was it on the Village A rooftop or did
Yep,
someone drag you there?
yeah.
Was
So it was
it?
actually yeah. So
Oh, that's so
one of my
funny.
God rest his soul, he's in heaven now. But Kevin Bradshaw had a rooftop apartment party or whatever. And I think I had just got to school like the beginning of the fall semester. And I went to a party up there,
It's
and
almost like a rite of passage, right, at Georgetown. Like, did
if you
you
haven't been
ever
up
go
to a
to a
party up there,
Village
then
A
you haven't been.
rooftop party?
Yeah, so I guess I kind of got that out the way, and I did that. I think I kind of left the pack a little bit when I started. I guess all my friends and teammates, they were like, nothing wrong with it. They were just like they were kind of like hanging out
Yeah.
and partying and things like that. And for me, my dad always told me like, look, have your fun, but make sure your focus is on making sure those grades stay up because you're in a hard school now. Because I came from a public school, which
Yep.
Georgetown was like a big open eye for me. So I knew I had to focus on making sure my grades stayed apart so I can play basketball. And also too, I was out of shape when I first came, so I had like really strict down on my diet, strict down on my rest,
Yeah.
and work out a lot. I was working out 2 or 3 times a day. And I was just like in a crazy different mode where I was
Wow.
like, people like, I never see you on campus. Like people always say, like, I never see you on campus except for like class because I would always just be in the gym or resting and things like that. So I really, it's one of those things like now to the extent I kind of regret a little bit because like I didn't enjoy college life like most people did. I didn't have fun and hang out. I was just so focused on working hard, getting my grades right, to make it to the NBA. But then it's like it came at a cost. And like, especially some of my friends, they tell me all the stories they had and all the fun they had. And it's like, yeah, you wasn't there. So it's like kind of, it was one of those things where I separated myself, but also it was interesting. So,
Yeah, so I guess maybe it's best to kind of start from the beginning. So what was your basketball journey like growing up in Maryland?
yeah. So when I first started playing that, my father introduced the game of basketball at the age of 9. When I
Wow.
first started, I was
And
the
your father
worst.
played, right, as
Yeah, he
well?
played. Yeah, he didn't play. He played like Division 3 college, but he played in high school. He was
Hmm.
like he's from I think Southern Maryland, something like that. So he loved the game and he introduced it to me. But for me, I was like wasn't really good at all. I was like the worst player of my team for a couple of years.
Wow.
And then, yeah, then a coach, actually he was Kevin Durant's high school coach, Trevor Brown. He coached a team. He kept saying he seen so much potential in me that I should come to his team and really just give me a chance to play. And he gave me confidence on how to practice, how to work hard. And sure enough, I don't know what he saw in me, but he turned out to be right. And I ended up going from 2 years from the kid that everybody laughed at and teased to being like one of the best players in the state and committing to Georgetown University as a freshman in high school. So
Wow.
yeah, so it was one of those things. It was like life turned for me like really quickly.
Yeah.
So
So, I mean, you mentioned people transition from teasing you to all of a sudden you have, I guess, a letter of intent as
Mhm.
how old were you? 13?
I was 13 when I got my first letter in, and it was kind of crazy.
Wow. So what does that feel like? Because, I think people can't even imagine someone that they look up to ever being like bullied in any way when they were younger.
Mhm.
And I think as a mom myself, I'm always thinking like I'll always say like kids can be really mean.
Yeah.
And, I think we've all probably experienced that at some point in our lives. But like for you to have that kind of transition, what did
Hmm.
that feel like, even at such a young age, and have like a letter of intent at one of the best, basketball schools at that time? What did that feel like for you? Because you're still so young.
It was a great feeling. It was a great feeling. It was met with a lot of support, obviously, from my family, but a lot of some people that I played ball with, they were kind of jealous of me to an extent.
Yeah.
Because like, like you said, you bullying the person, but all of a sudden now they're above you. It's like, okay, I can't bully him no more, but I can just, be jealousy. So it was like a lot of jealousy. Like you never get playing time at Georgetown. Yes, you have
Wow.
relevant 10, but you won't be good. It was just one of those type of things. Like growing, I always heard like I'm the fat boy, I'm this, and so I heard all that. So that kind of died down. It was more so like you ain't gonna be anything. So that
Yeah.
kind of like gave me a lot of motivation to be better and to keep working. But like you said, like kids are mean, and especially nowadays, it's like I work with the youth a lot, and just to see the things these kids have to go through is like it's actually kind of scary, especially as a parent. It's scary
Yeah.
because you always want to make sure that the kid is being treated right and they're treating others right, because one of those things goes both ways. So it's definitely humbling.
And how do you prevent that? I mean, how do you prevent that from becoming like your inner voice at a young age? Because, what people say to you as you're growing up can, even if you have the resilience that like, I'm going to make it despite them, how do you prevent it, or did you prevent it from coming like becoming that inner voice of doubt when things weren't going your way, for instance, or a game didn't go your way? Was it
Mhm.
like, I'm gonna train harder, I'm gonna prove those people wrong, or did you ever have moments where like, are they right? Were they right? Or,
Mhm.
those things that we
Mhm.
kind of take on as children, sometimes even as adults, start
Mhm.
kind of showing up.
Yeah, I think so. Interesting you say that. So for from sports, basketball wise, I never really had that. I was always just confident in basketball wise because I guess life changed for me quick and I kept getting better and better. So like
Sure.
things were going in a good direction. But I think personally, even now to this day, like that confidence is still really low. I always had that doubt, am I like do I look like this? Am I feeling like this?
Yeah.
Am I, trying to always needing people's approval? So something I'm still working on too as a 40-year-old man.
Yeah, I think we all
Um,
are.
so I
You're not
think
alone
those
in that.
things like carry over, even to the things where people will always call me. I used to like, they kids go, "Oh, fat boy, this, you this, you're that." So like now to this day, like some of those people try to be like friends with me now. I'm kind of guarded with it. So I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
oh man, I don't really trust you. Like you bullied me as a kid, but now
Yeah.
you want to be my friend, even though I'm not giving them a chance. Because sometimes people could mature, or some people this could really change. As a kid, you can't actually you shouldn't hold something that somebody just did as a kid to
Right.
as an adult. So I still have work to do for myself because I still hold on to certain things, and which is weird because I try to teach people to forgive and not hold grudges, but yet
Yeah, but
sometimes
you're
that
still
inner
a person,
yeah,
right? That like
that's still inner me. It still holds on. So like,
yeah,
I
and I
think
think we're
basketball
all
wise,
evolving.
I don't. But like personally, with certain things, I still hear voices. I still, hear those voices of that boy this and all those jokes and stuff. But yeah.
That's wild to me to hear any comments around your size, right? Because it ended up becoming, in many ways, like your advantage.
Hmm.
You're 6'8",
Yeah.
right? I remember, and you may not remember this, but at Georgetown, we actually met in Professor Dadio's Intro to Sociology
Hmm.
class. And I actually thought how unfair it was that I'm 5'5", and that
Hmm.
you right next to me had the same desk that I did. And at one point I looked over at you just like, I think that's actually how we started talking. I was
Yeah.
just dumbfounded that you had to sit through the same class as I was in this
Hmm.
like small desk. And you looked over at me and you were like, it's milk. That's how I was this tall. And I'm like, It's so
Yeah,
unfair.
I know.
Uh,
It's,
um,
it's definitely
but
one of those things. Funny because I have a 10-year-old daughter. She's 5'8", 5'9" at 10. Yeah,
oh
she's tall.
wow,
Yeah, she's like super tall. And like for me, like when kids, it's like, hey, so like it's one of those things like I'm like, oh, I'm just like bracing for a lot of things for her. It's like, I always
sure,
been a tall person. So I just try to guide her through as much life as possible, being, taller than the average human being.
yeah.
But it's funny that I do remember you, by the way. It's funny because like you see certain people, I haven't seen them in, obviously 20 years. Has it been longer than 20 years? Wow, it has been 20 years.
Mike, you weren't supposed to tell people
Oh,
how old we
sorry.
are.
Well, yeah,
20-ish. No, I'm just
yeah.
kidding. Yeah, it was like we were in school together. I think that
Hmm.
class was in 2003. So
Hmm. Yeah,
almost like over 20 years, which is
yeah.
wild. So, I mean, it's interesting that you talk about like even going to one party at
Hmm.
Georgetown. Like, what was it like playing at Georgetown? I mean, it's the place that you knew you were going to as a freshman in high school.
Hmm.
There's so many greats that were part of the Georgetown team.
Yeah.
Since for basketball, that's where everyone came out. I mean, how did that experience shape you, on and off the court?
It was great. For me, like I said, Georgetown was, I'm from the area, so I was like 20 minutes from home. So my
Oh,
family
wow.
and friends got a chance to come visit me, or I would go home often. So it was great to do that. But obviously living up to some of those greats' name, and now still to this day, being on that wall with all those former players that made it to the professional level, with the new gym, old gym, and these young people still know who you are. It's good to have a good legacy there. And obviously, last year being inducted to the Georgetown Hall of Fame,
Yeah,
being able to
congratulations.
being able to experience that. Thank you. Being able to experience that with my kids and have my kids sold my name into the Hall of Fame was like really
It's
emotional.
amazing.
And never it's just so funny because as Frankie said, being at Georgetown as a young kid, some of the things you never think that would ever happen, but it did happen. And I think Georgetown molded me as a man was interesting because I grew up in Oxon Hill, Maryland, where it's
Hmm.
pretty much predominantly now it's changing, but it was pretty much all African American people there.
Yeah.
And when I went to Georgetown, it was a melting pot, as you know. And so when I got there, to be honest with you, I didn't know how to communicate with
Yeah,
people that didn't look like me.
sure.
And I think probably midway through my freshman year, I was like, it's just human beings. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? It's just human beings. So I got a chance to be able to just communicate, learn how to communicate with people that don't look like me, that don't have the same views, whatever it may be. Like that helped me grow up and it
yeah,
helped me grow up to now in the real world when I have to communicate with every religion, every race, whatever it may be. For me, I don't. Not saying I don't see. You obviously see people that look different, but like you don't care about that stuff. It's like, hey,
yeah,
I had to adjust at Georgetown. So, and it's funny because like right now where I live in New Jersey, it's a melting pot where we have like Jewish people, we have Indian people, we have Asian people, we have Black people. So my kids get a chance to go to school in that melting pot, but also too learn about their holidays, learn about those things. So like that was huge. And I think that, and obviously they get that at a young age, but I didn't
yeah,
have that. So Georgetown really molded me on learning how to just communicate with people because I didn't. I thought I did, but when I got there, I was, silent. I didn't know how to even talk to people. Like, hey, how you doing? I would just wave and keep on moving. I didn't know.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
once I realized you're just human like me,
yeah,
so that's what really more. I think that was the biggest thing that helped me like grow up as a man.
yeah. And so you made the decision, I think, your junior year to
Hmm.
forego your senior year, right,
Yeah.
of Georgetown and enter the draft. And you were a top draft pick in 2003, and in a class that was really celebrated, like standouts like LeBron James, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony. What did it feel like? Like, what do you remember most about that night and leading up to it and the whole selection process?
So it's interesting you say that because I didn't want to leave school. I could have
Oh,
I had
interesting.
opportunity to leave after my freshman year. That's when it started, saying, hey, you can go pro. But I knew I said I'm not ready. I want to mature more, so I stayed. But after my junior year, they was like, dude, you got to go. Like,
Yeah. And was that because they were just looking ahead, like for you, what senior year would look like playing at Georgetown, or was it kind of a trade-off decision?
it was. I think it was more so looking out for me and my family's future. They was like, look, like you stay one more year, you can get hurt. But right now, they're
Yeah.
sending you a lottery pick. this is the opportunity that you just can't pass up. So like you got to go, and I respect them for that.
Hmm.
And I respect it. They could have said, hey, we can hold on to this guy and keep on making
Yeah,
our school and our team better. They
right.
pushed me. It's like you just got to go. We'll deal with it here, what our losses are, but you got to go. But going through that process was amazing. Obviously, being able to see LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony, obviously, I played against Carmelo, so I knew him, but meeting LeBron and Dwayne Wade during that process was amazing. But it was funny because like the basketball part was easy, just training that I worked really hard. I
Yeah,
think it was more so like the mental game
yeah,
because I always tell the story when I was getting drafted the night of draft night. Obviously the most amazing night in my, one of, besides being married, one of my most amazing nights and I had my kids. Walking across the stage, shaking the commissioner's hand and all that. But
yeah.
like the morning of the draft, people laugh at this story. What happened was I never worked out for the Knicks. I didn't think the Knicks had like five people on position. I was like, they're not taking me at nine. I knew I had a promise from the Wizards at 10 and Seattle at 13 that that's where I was going to go. So
And
when the eighth
Washington
pick
would have been coming home, right?
Yeah. So when the
Yeah.
eighth pick happened, I got excited. I was like, yeah, the Knicks are not taking me. I'm going home to Washington at 10. So I'm like preparing myself for getting all excited. But so to wind back to that morning, the Knicks said, hey, can you come down to the Madison Square Garden? Because that's where the draft was in New York. We have a quick meeting with you. I was like, why do you want to meet with me for? And he's
Yeah.
like, just take the meeting out of respect. You can't just say no, just take it.
Sure.
So I went down to the meeting and they said, hey, if it's a cat hanging off a ledge and a dog hanging off a ledge, who are you going to save? I was
What?
like, yeah. So I was like, so I'm thinking it's like they gonna talk to me about basketball. So I was like, honestly, I'm gonna try to save both. They said, no, you got to choose one. I said, well, for me, I can't just let one of them go. There's no option. I said, I'm gonna have to figure it out. Like
Wow.
maybe we all go down. I don't know, but right now, like I'm not just gonna let one go and I can't choose. It's all right. Meeting's over. So I got into they
Oh,
sent
very interesting.
they put me back in the car. They didn't say, oh, okay, but they didn't say nothing about my answers. They put me back in the car sitting back to the garden. So I remember calling my agent. I was like, what the heck was that? And I told him what happened. He's like, oh, I don't know, maybe they were playing mine. And he said, maybe they just wanted to say they interviewed you. I don't know. He said,
You're
but I
like,
highly
I was
doubt it.
expecting Ashton Kutcher to come out for Punked. Like,
Yeah, so that
what is happening right
so I didn't know
now?
what was going to happen.
Yeah.
And then when the draft was happening, the ninth pick came up. My agent got a call. He said, hey, when the cameras come around, act surprised. I said, what do you mean? He's like, the Knicks are taking you. So like
You're
I'm
like,
like
I
having
am surprised. I don't need to
so I'm
act.
having all these emotions because I'm like, this is my dream come true. But like halfway, I didn't want to be in this. I'm like, I wanted to
Yeah.
go home to Washington because I was like, I need to have a people in position.
You're
I
like,
just
I
didn't want to
should
be.
have said I wasn't going to save either the cat or the dog. Like, they wouldn't have taken me.
Yeah, so I didn't know, but yeah, they ended up drafting me. They say he'd be like your loyalty. We were just testing to see your loyalty, to kind of human you are,
Wow.
things like that. I guess my answer was showing that I
It
was.
was the truth.
Yeah, so I guess then the next thing you know, the history was not history, but like after that, it was just all right, I'm a neck down. So
Yeah.
like the
So,
whole so that's funny because I was going through the process, like even like walking across the stage, going to interviews after that, my mind was still going to that interview. They asked me, why did they draft? I was like, it
you're
took
just
me
like
a
spinning.
it didn't honestly it didn't hit me until that night when I got into the hotel room with my mom and dad. We everybody else went to dinner. I said, I just wanted to order room service and just be in a room. And that's when it hit me like, wow, like I just got drafted. Like that's when it really like
Yeah.
went to my mind because that whole process was just confusing.
And
So
aren't the Knicks fans, I think, so I used to watch the draft like
mm-hmm.
religiously. Aren't they notorious for booing whoever their draft pick is?
Yeah, so usually every year they get booed, the pick
And
gets
you got
booed.
applause.
I got a standing ovation. So I was like, wow. But obviously, I think, well, a couple things helped me. Being at Georgetown, we would always come play St. John's in the Big East tournament in New York. So, like, most of those fans kind of knew of me and playing against Syracuse and things like that. So, some of those fans already knew me, but also, obviously, Patrick Ewing being a legend there in Georgetown, I think that kind of helped. And so, yeah, I don't know what it was. I don't know, obviously, I think God was on my side that night because, like, one of the reporters, he said, hey, you didn't get booed.
Yeah.
And then it hit me. I was like, wow, I didn't. Because I told you my mind was somewhere else. Even if I did would have got booed, I probably wouldn't even, paid attention. But it was
Yeah.
one of those things where it was like, wow, I didn't get booed. You're right.
That's
So
so
it was one of those
wild.
things. It worked out.
So, what was your experience like with the New York Knicks organization and the fans who, obviously take basketball very seriously. How did
Hmm.
that feel, as a rookie?
As a rookie, it was a lot going on for me,
Yeah.
personally. Obviously, the story of me losing my father right before the season started. So I was like going through a lot mentally. And
Yeah.
back then, obviously mental health is not what it is now. So I was going through a lot. I didn't know what I was going through. I was just like, why am I feeling this way? And
Yeah.
obviously I
And
was
you would
going,
probably think it's natural to feel
hmm but
the
I was
loss because you and your
honestly,
dad were very close, right?
hmm and I knew, the feelings that I had, and I saw the way they treated Ron Artest slash Murder World Peace now. I was
Yeah.
like, I don't want to be in that same boat because they're gonna think I'm crazy. I might be kicked out of the league. So I was like scared to say so. I just stayed quiet for a long time. So,
And did
and
you reach out to anyone? Like, did your mom know you were struggling? Any friends, or
mm,
was it just completely silent?
so I was what you call a professional master, right? I didn't want nobody to know. Even when I talked to my mom and then my
Yeah.
friends, I
You
was
want
like,
her to
man,
feel
life,
like you're good.
oh yeah, life is great. I'm amazing. But behind
Yeah.
closed doors, I was the other person. I was like two people.
Yeah.
And so like, basketball was up and down. Like some games I would play, some that had good moments, but I always played hard. And for some reason, the fans always, probably because they know I just lost my dad, and they didn't boo me on draft night. So me and the fans had a different connection.
Yeah.
So like they always support me. In my years here, I never got booed, never got treated badly. So like still to this day, I get love in New York when I walk down the street from people.
That's great.
So it's one of those things where they kind of looked out for me here. The fans did. The organization was a lot going on. I was just with the Knicks at a bad time. So I had people in my position. I had four coaches in 2 years,
Wow.
different managers coming in and out, probably 25, 30 different teammates in and out.
Yeah.
It was never just whatever. They had sexual harassment suits left
Yeah.
and right. It was a zoo when I was there. So
Hmm.
just trying to just deal with my own mental stuff and the team stuff, it was just a hard battle. So it's one of those things like, like the basketball part was fun, but everything else was just like it was torture.
Yeah. I mean, the NBA lifestyle in the best of scenarios can be
Mhm.
intense, as is probably an understatement. But, when did you realize, I mean, that something just wasn't right? Like beyond just obviously grieving the loss of your father, your best
Mhm.
friend, when did you realize, or did you have a moment where you felt like, this is just too much, or, I need to
Yeah.
figure out what's going on with me.
Yeah, I think midway through the season, I remember we was in Cleveland
Yeah.
and we was on a road trip. And I remember like closing all my blinds, having a bottle of pills and some wine, and took it all to try to end it all.
Wow.
And obviously, luckily, I'm here, thank God. But
Yeah.
I woke up the next morning feeling like crap.
Yeah.
Obviously, because my
Yeah.
body, I don't have the normal sized body, so it didn't affect me like it would probably affect a smaller person.
Sure.
But it made me feel really ill. So I had to lie to the team and told them I had like a stomach bug and maybe I with the flu. So I can get some help, but not, because I was scared to tell people like, wow, I really just tried to do this to myself.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was telling myself that, hey,
Yeah.
I can't believe I really just tried to do this to myself. And that's when I knew like, I am not okay. I'm not
Yeah.
right.
Was
And,
there
and I
something
knew I
about
wasn't right
that
for a long
trip,
time.
or you just had enough? Like,
Yeah, I had enough of just like I said, trying to juggle two people. The organization was what it was.
yeah,
And, obviously when you're going through those situations, it becomes a snowball effect. If you don't
sure.
get help or try taking care of yourself, things can get worse and worse and worse and worse. And that me, obviously just being a man, thinking, oh, I can be a man, I can fight through it, and I'm a man, I'm macho, and nah, that didn't work for me. That
Yeah.
didn't work for me. That doesn't work for any human. If you don't
Yep.
think you can do it on your own. And for me,
Yep.
going through that process was tough. And then like just trying to just function as a wife and tell and figure that out and like this one of those secrets I had to keep to myself. That hey,
Yeah.
I can't
And
believe I tried to do that.
I think what's wild about being in the public eye as you were is that you can have a night like that on a road trip where you just played a game and
Mm-hmm.
then you get back out there. And I guess I would assume that was one of your lowest
Mm-hmm.
points. Like, what kept you going? Because you still were playing and
Mm-hmm.
you were still playing in the public eye. Like, what motivated you at that time to just to kind of continue to push?
Um, I just, like I said, the man in me kept saying I need to keep pushing. Obviously, I had a contract for 4 years, and I just like I got to push through it. And because when my father passed away, obviously I was the man of the house. I had to support my house, so I had to support my mom. So like I had a brother to support, so I had people I had to support. So it became not about me that way. I had to like do it for everybody else. And then obviously after about 4 years, I reached a breaking point where I quit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you feel like did you feel like that you could go to any teammates or coaches or the
Mhm.
league like to offer support, or was it at that time
Yeah.
just something that you felt like, I know that you meant like you just didn't want spotlight on you. So did you just kind of feel like you had to handle it on your own?
At that time, I probably could have went to most of the people and got help. But especially now, everybody knows they call me upset and pissed about it. Like, why
Yeah,
didn't you tell me? I would have helped you out, have been there for
sure.
you, X, Y, and Z. But one of my teammates' mom, she knew. She would
Okay.
always pray for me after the game. She would just, she didn't say what it was, but she knew.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I had help there. I just never reached out to use it in the support system because I had friends and people who actually really cared about me.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things I should have used the resources to help me, but I was just obviously
I
too
mean, when you're
stubborn.
in the thick of it though, it's so hard to.
Oh yeah, it's hard to ask for help.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things I tell people a lot. Like that's probably one of the first, hardest, bravest steps is to put your pride to the side and say, "Hey, I need some help. I got to get some help." So, and that was one of the things that was tough for me in the beginning.
Yeah. You know what I think people don't realize, and I'd love to hear your opinion, like, as an audience member, when you
Hmm.
see an athlete who's getting paid quite a bit in many ways to be kind of entertainment, like, they're entertaining a crowd, people come to watch a game, they're paying for that, they expect certain things. But I think, the audience loses sight that these are actually like real people playing, training, sacrificing, and having their own struggles. You become kind of entities, like
Hmm.
you're just someone at a game that people are watching that they feel like if they don't like, they can boo. And I think as an audience member, you can really lose sight that these are actually real people.
Yeah.
But what do you feel like being on the other side? Because in some ways that's right. Like,
Hmm.
people come to see something. There's a reason athletes sometimes get paid what they do because the fans that are there day in and day out.
Yeah.
But how do you balance that with also being a person? Like that you're not just a commodity. Like, how do you
Yeah.
feel about that now? Like in looking back, like I guess how do you balance it on the other side and showing that like you're part of a team, you know what you're there for, it's an actual, job, but you're
Yeah.
also a person. You're not just someone that's here to entertain. You're
Yeah.
also a person going through,
Yeah.
your own thing. Like I guess to what extent is it their interest in what you are personally versus, part of like a larger organization that's there to entertain, millions of people.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because it's one of those things. It's almost like you got to put a face on.
Yeah,
It sucks 'cause, like you always become a robot in a way. And I know,
yeah,
um, I think Usher said this thing in one of his songs that sometimes I gotta smile and I don't like smiling. Sometimes I gotta
yeah.
like sing when I was like singing. Like on his songs, he said, it, and I was like, it's a real thing because you know I remember I was going vacation at a program with my family, and I remember my kids. They was like, Dad, how do you do it? Like, as soon as I step out the room, people wanted to talk. People wanted to do this. People wanted to be like smile. It's like you always just have a smile on your face. Like, it's one of those things that you have to because if you don't, people look at you like you're a mean person, like you're not a good human being. So it's one of those things. It's really tough because you gotta
Yeah,
like put on this front and then smile like you're okay. Not saying you're it's not about the number like that, hey, that I'm a good person, but people because people sometimes people really don't care about, you know, what you're going through. They say, hey, I just want my picture, I want my questions asked, or I want, whatever it may be, they care about what they care about. And sometimes people forget that there's a human being after that. And
yeah.
now I think players are starting to find their way now
Mhm.
about how to deal with it because each team travels with a therapist and things like that. So it's tough, and especially nowadays, it's even tougher because you have all these social media outlets and everybody has
Yeah,
platforms to say if you only had 15 points instead of 20 points, you're the you suck, you're this, and not knowing like, I know like Marcus Smart, for one example, played for Boston. His mom was in Texas dying of cancer. And he's living in Boston, having to play for the Celtics, and
Yeah.
he's dealing with trade rumors and dealing with all these things. And think about how, as a human being,
Yeah.
and fans down, for me, that was like, for me, that I felt bad. I'm like, how he dealing with it? I don't know how he dealt with it. I still don't know what
Hmm.
he went through and never had a conversation, but like your mom is honestly dying in another state. You can't get to her. You
You can't
can't
even
be
go
there for her
there.
through that process. Yet you're up here getting, booed certain nights and things like that. So, sometimes I hope fans do, but like, it's tough. Like you in the stadium, people who've been a fan for a team since they were kids. You got alcohol flowing, you got betting now. And so
Yeah.
like you see people like, oh, I missed my parlay because of you. And it's like, so it's one of those things that it becomes a lot. I don't know if it's gonna get any better at this point because there's so much
Yeah.
stuff being added to it. So it's tough.
Yeah. And so, how do you think the trade to the Chicago Bulls impacted your career and mindset?
That made me quit basketball.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
got to a situation where, teammates loved me, management loved me, but my coach, we had a terrible relationship.
Mm.
Just being honest with you, my coach wasn't a good person. I ran into one of his assistant coaches a couple of years ago, and he came to me apologizing, like, wow, I just didn't
Wow.
realize how bad he treated you. And one of those things, I don't know.
Was it just
He,
to you, or did you feel like that was his style? Or,
to me and a couple other players, he had
okay.
his group of people that he liked.
Yeah.
He dealt, and I was one of those ones that he didn't like.
Hmm.
And he's an interesting guy. And it's one of those things that after that, and I remember the media at that point, he would go to the media and say whatever. I'm like, this is not true. But the media
Yeah.
took those stories and ran with it.
Right.
And I didn't have a voice. And it's one of those things that's when I had my breaking point. I was like, I'm done.
And what
I
did
don't want
that
this
feel like
lifestyle.
having played since you were 9 years old and then making it to NBA? Like for
Mhm.
you to come to that decision, like
Mhm.
this isn't for me in this way.
Yeah. It was tough. It was a dream, like one of those things. Still to this day, I was like, man, I could have had a 10, 15 year career.
Sure.
The what ifs always go across my mind, but it's one of those things like I knew mentally I just had to step away and try to get right. And it wasn't an overnight process for me. So like things got worse when I quit. But it's just a thing where I had to keep pushing through the situation and finding things that work for me. But yeah,
And
that
did
was
you ever think about like trying to figure out going to another team, or was it like, did you seek counsel from other, like, your family or friends or other coaches, like what would be best for you? Or did you feel like, again, this was like something you needed to kind
yeah.
of come to your own decision about?
Yeah, I had a couple of teams that were interested. Now, some of those teams I wish I'd have went to, like I know like Washington, for example, they had a good coach there, Eddie Jordan at the time. Me
Hmm.
and him had a good relationship, and I know he'd have been a good father figure slash coach for me. So that would probably been a great situation for me.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things that depending on the situation, but it's just things had got 4 years of that it built
Yeah.
up, and I just knew I had to like take a step away and figure things out, and you know things led to what they led to.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
after leaving the NBA, what was the transition like for you? Because I know that you played
yeah.
for many years after
It
that abroad.
yeah, so it's an interesting transition. So I played overseas for a couple of years. Went to China for a little bit, Uruguay, South America, Puerto Rico, Venezuela. So I played overseas for a little bit. Um, and then, like I said, the transition was tough because I went from obviously flying on private jets and four-star
Mhm.
hotels to living in different situations, long bus rides. But for me, I got a chance to obviously get my mind right, but also to see life in the real world.
Yeah.
Because sometimes playing in the NBA, you have people that don't tell you things are wrong and everything is catered to you. Like, you have everything at your beck and call.
Yeah.
Where I remember being in Venezuela. I'm not sorry, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, playing there, and I was staying in this really nice hotel, but the gym was like 4 blocks away, so I walked to practice some days. But en route, there was like a really poor community where people
Yeah.
just had bed like a sheet on concrete and just a hut almost in a way, but they were the happiest people in the world.
Right. Wow.
And that was like kind of humbling. I was like, man, we put so much on material things and having this and having that, but like as long as you have family, health, and happiness, that's all that
Hmm.
matters. That really changed my perspective on life sometimes and material
Amazing.
things and needing this and needing that. It's like you just need family and love.
Yeah.
And some of those things, and that can really change your mind because those people were really happy.
Yeah.
And they wasn't faking it, wasn't no front. It was just like the same people that would be at the game was cheering loud and being good people. So those things, I'm glad it happened the way it did, to go to and see the world in a different way. And honestly, just escape. I got a chance to escape from being Mike Sweetney, the top 10 draft pick. I got a chance to
Mhm.
just be me. Like, people were just happy to see me on the streets in those streets, and I would walk down. It was something that I needed, but I mean, something I needed. I didn't know I needed, but I needed it.
Yeah. And so what did how did your mental health journey evolve during that time, from kind of suffering in silence?
Mm-hmm.
How did it start to transition? Because obviously now, like you talk very openly about your mental health, but where did that start to begin for you personally?
It got worse a little bit. So when first stepped away from the game, I was left that bench rest in the bench. I left the game in May of 2007.
Hmm.
I got married that August, and then that first Thanksgiving, I'm so bad mentally that I abandoned my family for Thanksgiving. I slept in parks and parking garages for months.
Wow.
Yeah, just hiding out from the world just because I felt like a failure at that time.
And did your
And
wife have any idea like that you were
oh yeah,
struggling?
yeah, I put her in a really bad situation. She knew. She would call me asking to come home, but let her know, look, I'm safe. And she told
Yeah.
me, and I told her like, if I did things with her, so one of those things, she was in a really bad position.
Yeah. And
Um,
when did you guys meet?
High school.
High school. Okay, so
Yeah,
she's known you like through college, through
yeah,
the NBA,
actually
and
too
now
well.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she knows me too well. We've known each other. So I met her in my freshman year of high school, and she was a sophomore, so she's a year older than me.
Hmm.
And so we've been knowing each other for a long, for a long, long time. It's one of those things where, you know, she was really scared for me,
Yeah.
but obviously, and then, I took a job to Uruguay, South America, and that's where things started to really turn. I met a guy named Juan there. We had breakfast, lunch, dinner together. He was like my therapist there. Like for some reason, I just told before, and the team offered me the job there. I don't know why. I just told him everything I was going through. I
Was he
said, I went,
part of the basketball organization?
yeah, they hired him as like a therapist.
Okay.
And they said, no, we have a therapist here for you. And I was like, you're great South America. Why would be a therapist here that can help? I just like, I don't see it. And I went down there and he changed my life. I accepted
Wow.
my father's death. I accepted my NBA career was over. I learned meditation. Obviously got back to, prayer and things that I just needed. And I always tell people like everybody's journey is different. For me, some people need medication to be better. For me, I never needed mental health meds to get better. For me, it was more so just meditation, prayer, and finding things to take care of my mind. And that's what
Yeah.
kind of helped for me. So I started my journey. So it still took years. And still to this day, I have anxiety.
Yeah.
I told people like, yes, the depression part is kind of not what it was, but like, do I still have anxiety about certain things? Obviously, just being a father, being a parent,
Hmm.
it takes a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff going on. You worry about the kids. You worry about, hey, hey, your bills are paid on time. Making sure you have this. Make sure
Of course.
they have help. All those little things. Just make sure you want to take care of your
Yeah.
family with and all those things. It builds up. So, yeah.
So do you feel like he was able to get to you, Juan was able to get to you because he spent so much time with you versus like a therapist that you may I think going to a therapist can be a different experience for everybody, and there are times where you may not click with the therapist and then you
Mhm.
start potentially been like people pleasing your own therapist, like it
Mhm.
partly because there was nowhere to hide, someone that's with you day in and day out can start
Yeah.
seeing through the cracks.
I think it's a real thing because before I went there, my agent had got me a therapist in DC,
Okay.
but it just didn't work out. At that time, I think it's still to this day, if you got to pay out your own pocket, it was like, all right, the therapist like, all right, time's up, and take them, pay me my check and get out of here type thing.
Which is probably
And
the
I,
experience for so many
yeah,
people that seek
and I
help.
still had stuff I want to get off my chest, and he was like, all
Yeah,
right, time's up, get out of here. And obviously, it's just, I'm not knocking him, but he probably had somebody coming in after me, so he can't
sure.
So it's still the two-way. I understand that part now, but at that time I didn't understand it.
At the time. Yeah,
And yeah,
especially when you're looking
and
for
we just
help.
didn't, we just didn't connect. So I just started telling him, but I think he wanted to hear, so I can just get it over with.
Yeah.
And so for me, it just wasn't a good experience. And when I found the right person, which was him, that kind of just helped me. Because I saw like, okay, there was no time period. There wasn't no, hey, it was one of those things that it helped me. And I think obviously being away helped. Not love the U.S. obviously, but just disconnecting from the states for a little bit and being in a
Yeah.
different country kind of helped me
And just
just be a
evolving
human
for
being.
yourself.
I was a human being there. I wasn't Mike Sweetney, the NBA player. I was just Michael Sweetney,
Yep.
and that kind of helped me start my journey.
Yeah. And so I guess how did your relationship with basketball evolve once you stopped playing professionally?
I still played overseas. I lost a lot. My love for it was up and down.
Right.
Um, but I still watched the NBA. I still watched on TV a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But just my love for it kind of went up and down with it, and
Sure.
always wondering what if, what could have happened, but I just kept on playing. But yeah. So it's just like an up and down relationship with it,
Yeah.
and still to
Just
this day,
like
and
so
still to this
many
day, I
things.
watch it, and still to this day, I have up and down relationships with it because it's
Yeah.
just sad because something like that at the age of 9 and 10 as a kid, you love it. So.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
so now you do a lot of coaching and mentoring. What inspired you to take on that role?
Actually, kind of just it's one of those things when I came back from Uruguay, South America. A guy named Mark Berman from the New York Post asked me about my career, like what happened. He's like, "Yeah, you just banned off the face of earth. People saying you were a bust, that you were lazy, you were this," and I got tired of my truth not being out there,
Hmm.
and so I just told him my truth. And the
Yeah.
thing that
Amazing.
I'm telling you now, I told him that, and then and then he published it in New York Post. He published it, kind of went viral. So people
Wow.
started hearing my journey, my story. Next thing you
Yeah.
know, hey, can you speak at this high school? Can you do this? And I started seeing my impact that I was
Which
having
is
with kids.
wild, right? Like imagine Mike in alone in a Cleveland
Yeah,
hotel room, like
yeah,
suffering in silence, and now
yeah,
suddenly like a viral post
hmm,
in like the New York Post, like where
yeah,
you started your NBA career. It's such a
yeah.
crazy swing.
Most definitely, it was like kind of weird in a way,
Yeah,
but
I can
it's one of those
imagine.
things. It was like I said, it went viral, and I start, it's weird. I felt my purpose. I was like, wow. And I tell people, I said, man, I found my purpose in life. Is I thought it was my purpose to be a basketball player, but obviously the plans is just being where I am now is helping, saving, and changing lives. So now,
It's amazing.
just being a mental health spokesperson for a company here in New York, still speaking at schools and corporate events, and just the importance of that kind of say. It's just one of those things. I tell people I have more purpose and happiness and joy doing what I'm doing now than I was
Hmm.
playing basketball. He's like,
Wow.
what? No, you was in there? I was like, yeah, but like, if you can't put a price tag on purpose and
Yeah.
happiness and like peace.
Yeah. And do you
Yeah.
think the sports world is finally taking mental health seriously, or is there still a long way to go?
Oh, most definitely they are. Because I said it took. I mean, when I first started talking about it, they said, "Oh, you just different." That's okay. And then what happened was, I think Kevin Love had an incident on the court when he ran off the court and had his panic attacks. I think DeMar DeRozan started talking about it. I think he had really bad mental health issues, and Kevin Durant. It's a lot of players started talking about it.
Yeah.
Superstar players.
Right.
That's they realized, okay, no matter you got $1 in your pocket, you're making 300 million a year, you can go through,
They're
mental,
people.
yeah, your people.
Yeah.
And I think now these teams like, okay, if my product is not right, my
Yeah.
player, if I give this
Yes.
guy a $200 million contract and he's not mentally there, and
Right.
I'm not supporting him, then what am I? So now teams have multiple people on staff to make sure these players are, taken care of, and
Hmm.
they definitely making sure like, they have, hey, sleep doctor, making sure guys get enough sleep. You should get right
Yeah.
because all that stuff factors in. If you're not getting enough rest,
Sure.
so all that stuff factors in. So they really taking it seriously now, and they realize that it's a thing, and it took for it to happen to certain superstars. But I'm just glad that it's being addressed.
Yeah. And what do you think? I mean, some people misunderstand about depression, especially in athletes.
I think one of the missed thing I think people say that you're weak when you go. I think they say that you're weak. I think that especially the men or
Yeah.
I think any oh you're just weak and go through that. I think even when people commit suicide, it's one of those things they say, oh this person was selfish. This person is weak-minded, right? There, and it's like one of those things like that time when I try, or I know it's an impulsive feeling, I can't explain it. You don't know
Hmm.
what you're doing. It's an
Yeah.
out of body experience. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people don't know. So it's like not
Yeah.
like they're being so
You've
yes,
like
you mean
completely disconnected
just
from,
disconnect. So
yeah.
I'm not, and that's the one thing I was like, I'm not saying it's okay, but it's one of those things like when people do that, a lot of times, no, they're not being selfish. It's like you can't control it. It's a chemical
Yeah.
thing that I can't explain to this day that you just can't control. So it's one of those things. I think that's the thing that people misunderstand that a person's weak-minded or selfish may go through those things. It's like no, like it's something you just can't control. And then sometimes when people get put on medication, that medication balance might not be good for you and your body. Like
Sure.
it's a
Yeah.
whole thing. And I've seen it happen. I've seen people just be sedated all day. And I've seen people who might get worse off medicine. So
Right.
like with some people it does work with. So it's just one of those things is finding the right chemical balance, finding that right thing that it's tough. But it's
Yeah.
one of those things, hopefully, it gets better.
So I think probably one of your most important jobs is being a father.
Hmm.
And so what role did your kids play in your healing process? Like, did becoming a father change your perspective?
Oh, most definitely. When my son first told me, when I knew what my father was to me growing up, I was like, where I am right now, I can't be that to him. So I had to make a change. And once I made that change and just say, hey, I gotta be obviously not what my father was, just be that good role model for my kids to look at.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big push. That probably, my oldest son always told me all the time, you stayed and changed my life.
Wow.
And but I think I'm kind of glad what happened to me because
Yep.
I tried to hide it from my kids for a long time. I want them to know, obviously with technology now they got a cell phone
Sure.
and their friends like, oh, your dad was in the NBA and they googling my name, but not only basketball stuff is popping up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, how does your mental health struggle shape like the kind of
Yeah, so
father
like
you
it
are?
was a conversation that I think my daughter she one time asked me she's like, Dad, what does depression mean? It was like years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Are you depressed? And it's one of those things like started after I committed suicide. So open conversations had to be told to them what daddy went
Yeah,
through, but also too it developed a comfort level of them being able to tell me how they're feeling, what they're going
sure.
through. And so for me, it's one thing I try to hide from them, but I'm glad they do know because now they know like, hey, like you're human, dad went through it too, and
Yeah.
dad can support you. So it's one of those things like I'm, glad about technology.
Are there any tips that you can give? Because I'm sure there's like,
Mm-hmm.
as you said, like you're in many ways happy that you went through what you did because there's
Mm-hmm.
so many lessons from your darkest moments that you're now teaching your children.
Mm-hmm.
Any tips for, parents like myself on how to talk about like mental health and emotional well-being
Mm-hmm.
to children who obviously, haven't experienced everything we have, but
Yeah.
you also want to create this like environment of openness so that
Yeah.
if they are struggling, that they feel like they can come to you as someone that they can rely on.
I think for me, I think one of the perfect things is just yes, being a parent, but also too being a friend.
Yeah,
And I know people say, "Oh, you shouldn't be friends with your kids. You got to be the parents." Like, no, you got to be both. And it's different these days. And being a friend and a parent is important because you just being that parent, like you do it my way or the highway, like your kids tune you out, and they'll be just do little things where you're just like, okay, I gotta listen to my dad. I can't have a feeling. I can't have an emotion.
sure.
And so I think being that friend and making them feel comfortable talking to you and and talking to them,
Yeah,
talking to them, and it's one of those things being that comfort level, saying, hey, so, if you're going through something, it's okay to talk to me. And a lot of times they might not, and you just got to read their body language. You see them going through something. Hey, what's going on? You a little sad? Everything okay?
mm-hmm.
And because I have a middle child that
Yeah, remind me
he,
how old your children are.
I have 12, 10, and 8.
Ooh,
Oh
you
no,
are
no,
in
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm ahead of that. 14, 12, and 10. They just had
I
baby
was
showers.
gonna say you
Yeah,
are in the thick of it, and
yeah. So
emotions are
14.
probably running really high at the
Yeah.
Sweetney
So it's
house.
funny because my boys, they're chill. This is my 10-year-old daughter. She's the one that's 10 going on 21.
I'm with you. I have
But
an 8-year-old daughter and a
oh,
6-year-old son, so I'm
okay.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So you're going, man, you're not too far off if not already. But it's definitely one of those things like my 10-year-old son, he was diagnosed with dyslexia.
Okay.
And he would fake heart attacks at school, he would fake blindness, and he had just to avoid going to school because he felt bad and stupid. feel like he was
Sure.
stupid. And we ended up moving to a new town, and now he went from that to not being really what we thought what they diagnosed him. He was a straight A student, and he's always good
Oh, it's
friends. But
awesome.
during that process, he was going through that. I said, look, those feelings you feeling, like it's okay to feel that way. If you're going
Yeah.
to go through something like it's one of the things like I'm not going to take your feelings from you. If you feeling
Yeah.
like, hey, I feel stupid, I feel this, like if you feel that way, I'm gonna tell you right now, you're not stupid. But if you feel
Yeah.
that way, like your emotions, I will never try to take your emotions from you. I will try to make you feel better about it, but not take it from that. So I think that helped a lot. And to see where he is now, because now he's that kid at school where parents are like, your kid's amazing. He's just one of those because he like he's one of those he'll hug a tree, he'll hug it back, and
Yeah.
he's always friends with kids that people would never be friends with,
Oh,
and
it's great.
he's that kid. To see him go from that to that where it is now, I think is a big testament of like what I had to go through to really school him and how I now be a good person. I always tell him like being a good human being will take you far in life.
Yeah. And how do you balance like wanting to protect your kids from hardship while also preparing them like for life's challenges?
Yeah, and so that for me, I had to learn. I'm still learning. Because my wife's like, you spoil your kid. You spoil them too much. Like one of those things. Like I try to like make life so much easier for them. Like whatever
Sure.
they need, everything's there, everything, whatever.
Yep.
They gotta struggle sometimes. Like even like my son the other day was taking like he was like taking out the trash and like the trash bags were too heavy for him and he was like huffing and puffing. She's like,
Yeah.
this is you gotta work on this. He can't even take the trash out without that's it. You gotta like really give him like make like give him
Toughen them up.
distraction. Yeah,
Yeah.
tough him up a little bit. I said, no, you're right. And so it's one of those things like certain challenges, like when they do go through, like, for example, like making a team or they lose the game, like when they was playing basketball, my middle son would start crying at their loss of the game, regular game. And I said,
How
no,
does he feel like playing basketball when his dad's played basketball? Like, are you seeing similar things to like when you were playing at his age, right? Because he's 10
yeah.
and you were
So
about 9.
they're playing for their local like town rec, so it's not really taken seriously this. So right now they're having fun with it, and I'm just like
Yeah.
I'm happy about it. Where because like now these sports now it's like really intense and it's like money on the line for people. So like for this town rec is cool. Like he's playing with his friends, he's having fun, and I'm like that's all that matters right now. And I'm like
Yeah. And is that by design? Because I personally like it's very interesting because
mhm,
and I think maybe it's different than when in many ways when we were growing up, but I
mhm,
do see like children as early as like 4, 5 feeling
mhm,
under extreme pressure to be these like superior athletes. I
yeah,
remember the town that we lived in took baseball like really seriously.
mhm.
Actually, the town that we live in currently
You're
too,
in Florida, right?
and I in Florida,
Yeah,
and so we live in Clearwater where spring training is here for like the
yeah,
Phillies and the Blue Jays, and baseball is like for many people like a ticket out, like
mhm,
we're and really starting in T-ball, you see parents just like screaming at their kids and there's 8-year-olds here that have like pitching coaches and like they're practicing 6 days a week. I When we moved, I made the mistake of, my daughter is a really talented dancer, and
mhm,
I, though, wanted her to know that, what baseball was all about because I knew it was going to be part of the city. And I showed
mhm,
her my favorite movies, which was The Sandlot and A League of
mhm.
Their Own.
Yeah,
And then she was like, I'm going to play baseball. And she's a gifted athlete. But there was this moment too where I was just like, when does it stop being fun and transition into so much pressure on a young child? And this balance, for anything that our children are good at, like, do we keep it balanced for them where they're still enjoying, or do we see a gift and start pushing them, into either more training or more
mhm,
opportunities? Like, what does that feel like for you? Because I struggle and I've
yeah,
not even have like an athletic past,
yeah.
but like, what does that feel like for you? Like, do you purposely try to maintain for your children kind of like the love of whatever activity they're doing, not
Mhm.
even athletics? Or do you ever have that moment of like, ooh, I see talent there. Should I
Mhm.
be like pushing them because you're someone that really was pushed at a young age and the results showed. Like, how do you balance that now as a father yourself?
Yeah, so it's one of those things. Like my oldest son, I love him to death. He plays like for the town basketball, but like, he's, not there yet. But it's one of those things like I know will he ever probably get to a level where I was? You never know. But it's one of
Yeah.
those things like you kind of read them to see, okay, does he really want it? Is he shooting and doing things on his own? You start seeing them practice on their own, that's when you gotta know, okay, they really want this.
Okay.
Either
Yeah.
you want it more than your kid, and that's where the problem probably
Right.
starts to happen. So just
Yep.
seeing how much if they want it more than you is probably the most important thing. Um, so
But
yeah,
for
love
you,
so
right? Like you initially didn't like basketball. It was like you had a coach that saw your potential too.
mhm. Yeah, but I still, I still like the game of basketball.
Sure.
I just didn't know how good I could be.
No, yeah.
And
Critical difference.
yeah, and he saw it. He's like, hey, like they're just not using you. They just want to go with the people that's already a finished product. I see
Right.
that you're a person that, you can take some drills and work hard. You never know where you might end up at. So it was definitely one of those things where it's a little bit different. And I think Ryan where we live now, they have like town teams and travel
Hmm.
teams. Where the travel teams is a little bit more intense, where the town teams is just friends playing with friends against each other. So
Right.
and we'll see throughout this process like who wants to move over to that travel level where I think my daughter probably playing basketball probably end up being the travel one because she's pretty darn good.
Hmm.
So we'll see what happens with that. But it's one of those things like I don't know if that was by design, if this town did it that way, but also too, hear what you're saying, like that situation where like these kids got coaches and trainers and all like
Yeah.
this crazy stuff. I'm like, man, sometimes you let a kid be a kid.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's almost a reminder to the parents of like, they're not going to get this time
Mm-mm.
back. And
Nope.
so if you don't give them the space to be a kid, and you do see a lot of parents that are
Yeah.
pushing their own dreams that they
Mm-hmm.
had as kids, which is in
Yeah.
some ways okay, like to a
Yeah.
point. But I think we started this conversation. I know that when you were talking about kind of feeling alone, you had also had that thought about like what a man does. Like a
Mm-hmm.
man has to carry themselves a certain way, or like being the man of the house, like the pressure that you felt to make sure that everything looked okay and that you seemed okay. Do you ever feel like a responsibility to break like certain generational cycles, especially around like men showing emotion now as a
Mm-hmm.
father?
Oh no, I think it's definitely yeah. We've been working on it, especially here at my job. I always tell them like it's important, man, and it's okay, man. Like believe it or not, people ain't gonna laugh at you. People ain't gonna laugh
Yeah,
at you if you're crying. Like you, I said, believe it or not, you'll get way more support than you get laugh. And
yeah,
the ones that laugh at you or tease you about you being that way, I promise you, they're probably going through something themselves. Like a lot of times when people bully people, things are going on in their personal life, they lash out, they taking it out on you. So it's one of those
yeah.
things like you'll get more support by just opening up, man. And I said, not only just that support, you'll feel better about yourself. You have that weight lifted off your shoulder that, hey, like, I'm not carrying this burden on myself. So I think that is huge. And because for me, I used to be that person where, and I still have moments at times where I was for hold things into myself and just try to carry it by myself. But now being able to voice my opinion a little bit more better now helps out a lot.
And so when you look back on your journey,
Mhm.
like both the highs and the lows, like what do you feel most proud of? And do you think that you would do it all again?
Yeah, I would do it all over again. Probably a couple of changes I would make. I
Hmm.
think when I was playing in the league, I would definitely probably would have gotten help
Sure.
sooner and took advantage of the people that really would have helped me. But also too, I think everything happens for a reason. I
Yep.
think I thought I would be a basketball player for 15 years, but also now I'm in a position now where I'm taking care of lives. So
Hmm.
it's one of those things where everything happens for a reason. So I wouldn't, I say one thing I would change is probably getting the help that I needed. And I don't know what would happen from there, but definitely I feel like everything happens for a reason. And
Hmm.
I'm glad things happened the way they did in a way, because also I had people around me that
Sure.
should not have been in my life. So now so when I fell down, those people left, and now I'm getting back to where I need to be. I'm like, I don't have that weight on my shoulders. I don't have the baggage around people around me no more. So it's good just to be at peace, to be me and my family. I ain't worried about nobody. Just my close friends I grew up with. and all those things. So
Hmm.
it was a blessing
And
in disguise.
what's one moment in your journey that you feel like you'll carry with you forever?
Oh, I would say honestly, I think probably losing my career, right? Like leaving the game of basketball and
Hmm.
going through what I've gone through and had to really pick myself back up.
Yeah.
Like I tell people, like sometimes success is not a straight line. Just work hard and keep climbing the mountain, you'll get there. So sometimes you'll climb like me. I was at the top of the mountain and fell
Yeah.
all the way back down to the bottom of the mountain. And obviously getting back up, it wasn't a straight path. It was like up, back down, left, right. So it was like one of those things like that was a lesson. I think that was the thing that would kill me the most is learning when I was at the top of the mountain, falling back down and had to find my way to get back up. And
Hmm.
that's something that would carry me forever because like I feel like now no matter what, I can figure something out and push through it, push through life.
And if someone only remembers one thing about Mike Sweetney, what do you hope it is?
Just a great human being. I'm hoping so. Not
Hmm.
only, I tell people like, yes, I hope they remember the basketball player right now. I hope they remember as, man, he was a good human being that really cared about people in their lives.
And what does success look like for you now? Like, what's next for you? Are there ways for others to get involved in the organizations that you support?
I think for me, what's next is honestly to keep building what I'm doing now.
Hmm.
I have goals of, I always tell people I want to be the biggest mental health advocate in the world.
Amazing.
Still,
And you're
still,
coaching young athletes currently, right?
yeah,
Too?
so I was coaching at a
Okay.
Division III small college and a young high school. I'm not
Hmm.
doing it anymore. So right now I'm just doing like little clinics and stuff here and there with kids.
Great.
Because obviously my mental health job, being a parent and trying to coach those teams, that
Yeah,
balance is
it's a
just
lot.
it was a
You got to
lot.
take care of your mental health still
Yeah, so I was
and
like, I don't
balance
want to
it.
end up back to where I was, but
Yeah.
just continue just building and building what right now what I'm doing and one step at a time.
And what's the organization that you work with
So
primarily now?
the name of the company is called New Horizon Counseling Center. It's
Great.
in Valley Stream, New York.
It's
So
wonderful.
it's one of those things. So they're pretty much they work with a lot. I work with a lot of homeless shelters,
Hmm.
substance abuse centers, schools, and we work with humans all in that process. So yeah,
Okay, so last question, but
hmm
certainly not the least.
yeah.
Just knowing everything you've been through, if you could go back and talk to your younger self, what advice or what would you share with your younger self?
I think my younger self is. I think one thing advice I would use is for people say bad about you. Is just words. Don't let it get to you to the point where it's putting voices in your head for the rest of your life. Just be true to yourself. Be true to yourself, not what other people say about you. I think that will help you out in the long run. So I think for me, it's one of those things that as a younger self, I would take words and things that people say and it would carry over for a long time. So just not letting, negative words and things said about you carry over and just be true to yourself, work hard and whatever results they are what they are. But as long as you put your everything into it, so you can do it.
Yeah, well,
So, yeah.
Mike, I so
Thank you.
appreciate you taking the time to chat
Mhm.
today. I'm so honored to
Mhm.
have like known you when you were
Yeah.
in college and watch your career just flourish in so many ways.
Yeah.
I think you're right. The work that you're doing as a mental health advocate will has probably already
Mhm.
and so many people you probably don't even know that have watched you interview and have felt like less alone just
Mhm.
because they're seeing someone that they admire, go through things that, every human goes through.
Yeah.
And so I really applaud everything that you're doing for mental health and for athletes and just everyone, because I
Yeah.
think you've made probably so many people feel seen. And that's one of the, most important gifts that you could give anyone. So I really appreciate you sharing everything today and
Mhm.
can't wait to continue to watch all the work that you're doing and the impact that you're making.
No, thank you so much. I appreciate you for having me. And like I said, you keep doing what you're doing. And like I said, putting the messages out there is like really helping people out. It's important. And I'm just glad just to be a small person in that world of keep pushing through and trying to help people like just change their lives, their mindset and lives. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Well, we'll hope to
Mm.
talk to you again soon.
All right, thank you so much. Anything you need from me, please let me know.
All right, thanks.
All right.